The Mavericks have got off to a slower start to the year than you might expect, considering that they made the finals last year. However, in a stacked Western Conference, it's not necessarily your record, especially at this point in the season, that defines you. It's how your team actually looks on the court. And especially what you're seeing from these top guys that you are going to usually go to. And that includes, in this case, Luka Doncic, who has, in terms of the expectations that were placed on him in the offseason, had perhaps the most disappointing start to an NBA season for his career. Because his rookie year, there were some people that, said Luka Doncic shouldn't be the highest draft pick, and ultimately he wasn't. So, and especially as a rookie, you're not expected to do as much. And then the years after that, it's consistently been Luka Doncic. This is the year where he finally becomes that MVP. And that was especially the case this year. Even I bought into it after that playoff run last year where Luka did look like he had improved on the defensive end and became a more winning player. I thought it was going to be a two-guy race, SGA and Luka, but ultimately that has not been the case. And the OKC Thunder are doing really good, though. But for the Dallas Mavericks, it has been a failure on Luka's part to really get himself in those MVP conversations. And ultimately, that's not what matters most as a player. But the issues with Luka Doncic also go in to winning a championship, which is the ultimate goal over MVP. Because just the effort that he displays, especially on the defensive end, it doesn't really impact winning the way that it should when you look at his offensive production. Because you look at the numbers, Luka Doncic is having another great year. 28.1 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 7.6 assists. But if you truly watch the games, and I don't want to misconstrue it as empty stats, I don't really like that narrative because at the end of the day, those stats did happen, right? But his defensive performance, it can kind of wipe away those stats. He's consistently getting beat, getting blown by, and just showing poor effort on the defensive end. And ultimately, as a star player, that is required to carry the offensive load like Luka Doncic is. You can kind of get a little bit of excuses made for you because you just have to carry that huge offensive load. And that is all right to an extent. But when what we have seen in past years' playoff runs where he's just kind of fallen into being a bad defender, and this past playoff run, it was the best defender he had been, but he still got exploited by the Celtics in the finals at times. When we have consistently seen that your defensive performance is harming the team in spite of all of the great offensive production you're having, it does lead to conversations of if you're impacting the game properly enough, if you are truly a winning player. And Luka Doncic has all the talent in the world to be a winning player. He's one of the most talented players in the entire league. He can make almost any shot, even some that it looks like he really shouldn't be taking and or making. He has no business doing, and he goes out and makes it. And he's a great playmaker for others, a really good rebounder for his position. That's also aided by his lengthy frame. But at this point, you really can't look past the defense. And it's not to harp on the Mavs' current record, but we've seen years and years of this by now. And every year, Luka Doncic is going to take the MVP leap. This is his year. But it never pans out that way. Because what we then see from him on the court is that, yes, his offensive production is great, and it's not necessarily empty stats, because nothing is ever really truly empty stats. I don't like that term being utilized. But while it's not empty stats, a lot of the offense can be wiped away by him giving up points on the other end. By teams consistently attacking Luka Doncic because they know that he is a weak defender. And at some point, you do have to make an effort to improve on that end. And there have been times where Luka Doncic, he'll go out on defense and he'll get a stop. And it's clear that he has the talent, he has the physical tools to do it as a taller point guard. And with him having a bigger build, it's not like a skinny point guard is going to be able to back him down either. He has the talent and the tools to be a good defender as well. But that effort that you might see on one possession, the next couple of possessions, he's not going to put in that work. And to truly impact the game from what we've seen in recent years, not only does Luka Doncic have to be a plus offensively, he has to be at least neutral defensively. And so often he can't even be neutral. Teams consistently go at him, and there's so many times where he just doesn't put in the effort despite the tools and the talent that he has. And it's keeping Luka Doncic from becoming that MVP version of himself and from becoming the championship level winning player, top tier impact version of himself. If he was even an average defender, we would be having entirely different conversations because of what he does on offense. But he just is able to wipe away those points so often, and teams consistently go out Luka Doncic, and the effort isn't always there. Quite often it's not there. And he's got all the talent, all the tools on the road to do it. It's just a matter of his conditioning and his effort on the defensive end. If he was able to unlock that version of himself on that end of the court, Luka Doncic would without a doubt be an all-timer, without a doubt be an MVP, without a doubt a top player in the league. And he is a top player in the league, but the guy in the league. But he's just not that at this point in his career. And ultimately, I wish the best for him. I would love to see him become a better defender and truly take over the league. But at this point in his career, Luka Doncic has not done that. And the Mavericks record this year, it hasn't been too great, but it's also in a loaded Western Conference, and it's also early on in the year. But we have seen in years past the precedent of this, of Luka getting attacked on the defensive end and not putting in the most effort, having poor conditioning. And these are things that can be improved. That's the thing. You're not harping on him over something he can't fix. Say, hating on a point guard because of his height, right? But these are things that can be improved. And Luka Doncic has just not done it yet. He has not taken that leap on that end of the court. He doesn't need to be an all NBA, all defensive team member. He just needs to be a better defender. Even a neutral defender. Just not a net negative. Not one consistently getting attacked and consistently getting blown by. If he was able to do even that, he would without a doubt be the true MVP player that he can so often be cited as. And that is the Luka Doncic paradox, where his defense takes away from his production, and therefore his production is not always equivalent to his impact on the actual game. In spite of the eye-popping numbers, there's no doubt that he is an all-time offensive talent, perhaps the best offensive talent in the entire league. But to be the best player in the entire league, he does need to work on his defense, and that has been a consistent issue for the Mavericks. It's shown again this season, but we've seen historical precedent for it as well. And that is the Luka Doncic paradox.